The Secret of Potiphar's Wife. A story no one knew. Long before Joseph ever entered Potiphar's household, Potiphar's wife, known by many for beauty but remembered only for betrayal, carried a secret she had never spoken aloud. She lived in a palace built from marble and guarded by soldiers, yet her heart was a quiet prison. Her name, whispered only by her maidservants, was Zuleika, a woman given in marriage for political alliance, not for love. Potiphar, loyal to Pharaoh and ever away on missions, saw her more as a symbol of status than a companion. Every day she dressed in silk and gold, but felt emptier than the stone corridors that echoed her footsteps. For years before she met Joseph, Zuleika had a recurring dream. A young man, a shepherd, stood beside a well. Light shimmered around him like morning sun breaking through desert heat. She reached out to him in the dream, not with desire but desperation, because in his eyes she saw kindness, the one thing she had never known. Each time she awoke, she felt a strange sense of loss. She told no one. The dream became a private wound. When Joseph was brought into her household as a servant, she froze. Not because he was handsome, though he was, but because he had the same eyes as the young man in her dream. It shook her. She felt the dream pulling itself into reality. She believed the gods had finally sent someone who could see the loneliness hidden behind her makeup, behind her silk, behind her forced smile. For the first time in years, she felt alive. Joseph, not knowing any of this, served faithfully. He spoke gently, worked diligently, and feared God. To Zuleika, his presence felt like sunlight leaking into a room long closed. But the more she admired his goodness, the more she realized how empty her own soul had become. It wasn't just desire, it was the hunger for affection, for respect, for someone to look at her with sincerity, not as a possession. So, when Joseph resisted her, she wasn't merely rejected as a seductress, she was rejected as a woman who had spent her whole life unseen. When Joseph fled from her, she broke. Years of silence, loneliness, longing, and humiliation twisted together, and she made the most destructive decision of her life, accusing Joseph falsely. But the moment her words left her mouth, she regretted them. Yet, trapped by pride and fear, she couldn't take them back. What no one saw, after Joseph was imprisoned, Zuleika would stand by her palace window at night, looking toward the direction of the royal prison. She whispered apologies the wind never carried.
Forgive me.
No one knew that she cried alone. No one knew she prayed for the first time in her life, not to the gods of Egypt, but to the God Joseph served. And no one knew that years later, when Joseph rose to power, she saw him only once from a distance. He passed by in a chariot, surrounded by guards, honored by Pharaoh. She bowed her head in shame. Joseph didn't see her, but she whispered into the dust beneath her feet, "You were the light in my dream, and I turned it into darkness. Forgive me." Though Joseph never knew her secret, Zuleika spent the rest of her days quietly freeing every foreign servant she could, caring for the poor, and refusing to let another soul suffer because of her pain. No one wrote her redemption into scripture, but heaven saw it. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was enough.